We've all been in this situation. You're in your room, playing games or watching Netflix, probably eating crap that isn't very good for you. It's your typical everyday, indulging in cheap pleasures without even thinking about how it's going to affect you in the future. But then, you get a notification. Maybe someone finally decided to message me, you think. But the heading says, reminder, assignment due tomorrow at 11 AM. And your heart jumps a little bit because you suddenly remember the teacher or professor setting it over a month ago, but at the time you were too busy thinking about the game you were going to play that night. Suddenly you spring into action, boot up your computer or laptop and finish a 12-hour assignment in 3 hours of deep, focused work like it's nothing. This is the incredible power of Parkinson's law. It can temporarily turn a lazy gamer that has literally deep-fried their own brain into someone that is more productive than an entrepreneur who has been training their focus for years. I still remember the month of work leading up to the completion of my first paid product. It was the 5th of October and the product was releasing on the 20th of October, so I had just over 2 weeks left. And in that 2 weeks, I somehow had to get 2 months of work done. I've already been working way more than I usually work, but now it was getting serious because I thought I might not be able to finish this in time. I had publicly committed to this deadline and I had an audience of over 100,000 subscribers, and all of those people were waiting for it to come out and constantly asking me, how's it going? And they were all really excited for it. It was too late to change the date now because the platform that I was releasing on only lets you change the day 2 weeks in advance, and I had just crossed that barrier. And plus, I was committed. I did not want to delay it anymore. I was going to make this work. This was the culmination of 2 years of building an audience and 8 months of building this product, and I couldn't mess it up in the last few weeks. And those next 2 weeks were a blur. I stopped doing any sort of exercise or cardio or gym, anything like that. I started only eating 1 meal a day and I ate whilst working just to waste as little time as possible. I stopped all types of socializing and all I did was deep, focused, flow state work all day, every day, for about 12 hours a day. Where the typical notion is that this isn't possible. And I still remember the final day before the game finally released. I had about a week's worth of work to do in one day. And I remember on that day, I woke up at 7 AM. All I did was make a coffee and jump straight on my laptop. And then I worked all the way up until 3 AM the next day. 20 hours, and the whole time I was focused, in a deep state of focus. It wasn't until a couple of days later that I had realized how good this was, what I had actually done, because up until that point, I could only focus for about 90 minutes before my brain started getting tired, and my limit of focus for one day was only about 4 hours. Parkinson's law states that work expands to fill the time allotted to its completion. And we can use this to our advantage by setting ourselves deadlines, but the typical deadline setting that you set for yourself doesn't work because I don't know about you, I don't typically respect my own deadlines. Because if you don't meet them, nothing really happens to you. The key is to commit publicly to those deadlines. And if you don't meet that deadline, make sure that it either lowers your status in some way or you get some sort of criticism for it. The greater this is, the more you will spring into action. And then use this on a consistent scale and in bursts. So for example, the consistent scale, I post a video on this channel every 2 days. I've been traveling recently and I've been on 4 flights in the last week and a bit. If I didn't have hundreds of people waiting for these videos every couple of days, there's no way I would be able to get them done. And in addition to that, use it in bursts as well. So that could be something like the first story I told you with my first product, or the videos on my first channel usually took me about a month to make, but there was one time that I found a really viral idea and I was scared that someone would do it before me. So I actually finished a month video that usually takes me a month in about 12 days. And coming up to a big launch, a lot of successful entrepreneurs actually do this as well. I remember watching a podcast from Dan Coe, and Dan Coe usually advocates for deep work, and he says to only work about 2 to 4 hours of focused work per day. And even Dan Coe said that before a big deadline, he tends to work about 12 to 14 hours per day. Don't think that that level of focus is beyond you, because I was a gamer. I was so bad at focusing, but I still managed to focus for that long. If you have a big enough reason, you will do it. Your brain will make you do it. This law is affecting you whether you want to or not. So you can either use it to your advantage, like me or other entrepreneurs, or you can let it control you like the rest of the population. Seriously, the average person has a task that should take a day, and typically it takes them about a week to complete. A goldfish's attention span is 9 seconds, and I've recently read that the average person's attention span nowadays is actually only 8 seconds. That's what you're competing against right now, and if you've watched this long, then you've probably already got a better attention span than most people. I'll tell you a secret, man. I am not a productive person. I was lazy. I was a gamer. I slept in until 2 p.m. most days. I didn't want to go outside. I had no discipline. I couldn't focus on anything for longer than a couple of minutes, and this law still worked for me. Building up a natural ability to focus takes a long time, months, sometimes years, but you can literally use this now and focus better than some entrepreneurs that have been doing this for years. You don't even need to read any focus books. You can literally just publicly commit to a deadline and it will automatically kick in. I don't know why no one's made a dedicated video on this yet. If you're ambitious, which you are because you're watching this video, completing these long, difficult tasks leads to a lot of mental rewards for you. And if you're still struggling to focus, you might not be able to get those mental rewards yet. But doing this will allow you to get it now. And as an ambitious person, that will give you true fulfillment, completing these difficult tasks. As you learn to focus, imagine how much that will compound. Just picture the average person with that crap attention span. How little they actually get done in their day-to-day and how far you can get past them. Within 6 months, you will literally become unrecognizable. That's what learning to focus gets you. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm Brian, and this isn't a YouTube channel. We're a movement of people who have noticed that there's something off with the world. Everyone is doing the same thing, going to their jobs, coming back, and all of them are miserable. But you've woken up and you've realized that we don't have to live like this. And everyone on this channel is building a better life for themselves. So if you resonate with this message, welcome. Click the subscribe button and I'll see you in the next video.